The bugs are so loud. I don't know if you're gonna even be able to hear me. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Zoe. I'm a freelance photographer in Philadelphia, and in today's video we're going to be talking about branding, specifically how I branded myself and my photography business. I'm going to just show you like a step-by-step of how I started, how I even got to where I am now, and where I plan to go with it. So let's get going. Some of the most important elements of a brand and creating a brand, I would say, are one, having a brand identity. And this is really just about having a vibe for your brand. Having something that people can emotionally connect to about your brand, whether it's the fun, whimsical nature of it, or whether it's like the serious, like, you know, strong nature of it. Whatever is your brand and what you're going for.
The first step that I took to creating my brand identity was to make a Pinterest board of all the things that inspired me and gave me the feelings that I wanted my brand to encompass. Here you'll see the Pinterest board that I made for myself when I was just starting to envision my brand. Next, what I did was screenshot some of my favorite pins from the board and organize them into an album so that I can reference that later. Here you'll see the album that I created for myself.
Second, I would say you should have a really solid theme. And by theme, I kind of mean color palette and like text that you use so that it's consistent every time you go and post somewhere. People know what to expect. They have this, and it fits with like your vibe that you're going for. And I think text is something that people don't necessarily think about all the time, but it really can play a huge role in the way that people feel about whatever you're posting. So definitely something to just take into account and make sure it resonates with you when you're creating it for your brand.
The second step I took was to create a mood board for my brand. This includes a color palette, some photos, and some possible fonts. I'm using an app called Canva to create my mood board. I laid out all the blocks for the color palette, and I'm inserting some images that I want to correlate with my vibe. Something that I really love about Canva is that it allows you to pull colors from the images you've inserted. You can see here I'm using the dropper tool to move around the images and choose specific colors to put together a color palette. This is one of my favorite features, and I think it makes it really easy to make a color palette from the images that you've inserted. Next, I added some text that I wanted in my branding. Here you can see I'm adding Zoe Virginia. I'm going to duplicate it so that I can have a couple different options to try out some different types of fonts. You can do more or less, whatever you really feel like. I browsed all the fonts that they have, they've got a lot, and I selected some different combinations of fonts that I thought worked well together and kind of conveyed the emotion I was going for. Later on, I'll be able to pare this down further and kind of choose which ones I think ultimately give the vibe and direction that I'm going for.
The third thing is going to be your logo. And this seems pretty obvious and straightforward, but your logo, something about this that I think people need to take into account is that you should definitely create kind of different variations of your logo so that you can adapt it and put it on different platforms.
The last step I took was to synthesize my ideas and find my own unique brand and logo within all the inspiration I gathered. I used an app called Procreate to put together this larger mood board and ultimately design my logos. It does cost money to download, but it's amazing. This is an actual time lapse of something I created when I was making my brand and logo. You can see I'm redrawing some of the elements of the designs, of the inspiration, and pulling out specific elements that I want to use in my brand. It definitely took a lot of back and forth and trial and error to pare down all of the inspiration I had into something that was unique, concise, and felt true to me. But in the end, I think I really like what I came up with, for now, that is.
So those are the 3 things that to basically make sure to focus on and look out for within creating your brand, is the identity and the vibe, the theme, and the logo. So you got your brand identity, you got your theme, and you got your logo. What now? Well, for me, I'm gonna be creating some business cards and going around to local businesses and handing them out and starting to actually put my name out there to people that might wanna hire me. Stick around because I'm gonna be including you on this journey of becoming a freelance photographer. I hope that you're gonna be able to gain some knowledge and insight into what this really looks like on the back end, like what it entails, what making a brand looks like, what doing a photo shoot looks like. Definitely don't forget to subscribe to this video so you can stay tuned for all of the very interesting things I'm gonna be doing in the coming weeks. And I'll see you next week. Peace out.